brand new suspension and some other parts from Detroit Speed. It's Christmas. What's going on, guys? Matt over here, Lethal Garage, and today is like Christmas. It's Christmas for the 71 and me. So as you guys know, we're in the midst of rebuilding. Yeah, we got a lot to do. Rebuilding the 1971 Camaro, and in that today we are doing some suspension bits. So I just recently replaced the subframe that was on the vehicle for a brand new setup. We got it right here, powder coated, ready to go. But what I have right here is like the holy grail of suspension. Well, it's not necessarily the holy grail of suspension because one, I can't afford full coilover craziness 4-link setup that some of you guys out there have in your cars. But what I did do is I went mid-range with Detroit Speed for the look that I want. So I'm going for a pro touring look on the car. So we're going to drop the front about 2 inches, the rear about 3 inches from factory ride height. This thing was sitting super high as is because of the wheels and tire setup and the basically no shocks in the rear. So it has no suspension hooked up right now. But today we are going to rip open and check out all of the suspension from Detroit Speed. What I did is I purchased the stage 2 setup with the mini tub setup. So not only are we changing up the suspension, but we're going to be hacking into the car in the most delicate way possible. I said hacking, that makes it sound really bad, but we're going to cut up the car, the inside, to get a mini tub setup so we can get a big fat tire to make that LS7 hook like a monster. So that's the goal. Anyways, let's get into this pallet and check out all the suspension goodies that has arrived from Detroit Speed. So it's not very often you get a pallet of parts. So when you do, it one, takes up a ton of space, but two, it's, I don't know, it's a little more exciting in my opinion. But in this setup, you get the whole front suspension, including adding a sway bar to the vehicle. You get the wide body, or not the wide body kit, I said wide body kit, the mini tub kit, and springs and suspension bits and all sorts of stuff. And look at that, they even got the right shirt size, lethal size 3XL. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna start opening stuff up and separating everything out for front and rear suspension, and I'll set the camera to the side while I do that, and we'll go through some high-speed action because there's a lot of boxes to open. So let's get to it. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, there's not a ton to the kit. Obviously the rear with the mini tubs and all of the relocation brackets and shackles and all that stuff. A lot of little boxes there. I mean, they're bolts, they're shocks, there's a brace bar, and then there's obviously the mini tubs. But I mean, you got the shocks here for the fronts, all wrapped up, looking nice and clean. The biggest thing is just the quality of the A-arms, and like they're just so nice. And of course I put the sway bar right on top, so I can't access anything. Here, move this, lay you down. I didn't open the leaf springs because they're heavy, and keep them in the box for the time being. Keep these parts with the sway bar and the instructions. Don't want to lose those. But I mean, you can see the lower arm right here. I mean, the quality is just top notch, and as you can see, they did an amazing job packing. But here's one of the lowers. It is heavy. I didn't take off the factory ones, but I'm assuming these are a little bit heavier than factory. So that's the bottom, or the lower A-arm. Let's say control arms, and then here's the upper. Like, this thing just looks so nice. And this you'll see. So Really nice material, good craftsmanship. They did a good job with the coating. Everything just looks nice and clean on it. We'll have to really see how it looks on the subframe, but this is looking really good. I'm impressed. Again, Detroit Speed, they're known for quality. So, yeah. So man, first and foremost, Detroit Speed has some amazing products just at first glance. First touch, first feel, first look. Their shipping, everything was packaged really nice, and the products are super clean. Now, I've gone ahead and reorganized stuff off camera, kind of in rear suspension slash mini tub slash front suspension. And it's really, the front suspension at least is ready to go on the subframe. Now, you may be asking, well, Lethal, why did you go with Detroit Speed? Well, there's a million ways to skin a cat. This is a factory subframe, re-stripped and powder coated, ready to go. I just picked this up recently, as I mentioned earlier in the video. Now, I could have gotten completely stock components that came with the original car and been okay. Now, would the car have handled well? It would have handled as well as it did in 1970, but with modern day technology, they have adapted and built this car, or the ability to make this car handle like modern day car. Now, I am upgrading the brakes to somewhat modern day brakes. I'm going with a C5 Corvette setup. So in that, there's some new technology, new stuff coming along that will change the dynamics and the stopping ability of the car. I'm not running the factory motor. As you guys know, this car is a 71 standard. It came with a 200 horsepower, 302 cubic inch motor. Is it 302 or 307? Somewhere around there. But as you guys know, over there underneath that pile is a brand new built, fresh, modern day 1415 Z28 LS7 block motor ready to be dropped on this bad boy. And all that being stated, I wanted suspension that's going to support it. Now, I'm pretty sure the motor, the 427 LS7, is lighter than the motor that was in this car initially. So that's a win in its own right. But that being stated, the other side was going for a stance and setup that appealed to me. So I've loved this car. You guys can't see it, but there's a poster back there, a picture. That picture and many others like it I've had in my possession since I was a kid. I've always loved the 70, 71, 72 Z28 style second gen Camaro. And in that, I never dreamed I would be building one. And coming down to it and looking at things and learning more and more about cars, there's so many things that you can do to get a ride height, get a setup that's going to cater to your needs. Now, I had to step back and realize, one, I'm not building this car to sell it. So in that, I had to also kind of look at my bank account and be like, well, what can I afford to build versus what are my dreams and aspirations? You kind of step back and, you know, sure, I could have gone full 4-link or full custom front subframe that would allow me to do a lot more with this car than I will probably end up doing. Will I end up ever doing that? Probably not. That all being stated, I chose to go the option that was going to give me the ride quality I wanted, the stance that I wanted, and allow me to support modern day technology in a sense to really allow this car to shine. So with that being said, I went with the C5 brakes, so that's going to change the spindle out and all that stuff. I went with the Detroit Speed upper and lower control arms with a adjustable coilover. That's going to be basically a 2-inch drop in the front, and then the rear I stayed leaf springs instead of doing crazy suspension like some guys do. And I would have loved to have done that, but that would have also put me over budget by a lot. I would have loved a new rear end. That would have put me over budget by a lot. So I really had to sit back and look at what was available, what was going to allow me to achieve the stance and look that I wanted to go for the price point that I was going with. Now, there was a couple other options out there in regards to suspension parts and pieces that would allow me to build up the suspension, but they didn't include a coilover, and they didn't include a ride that was touted by other people who have been in the same scenario with this car or a similar car or a first gen, second gen, and trucks that have vouched, like, and I've actually ridden in a car with the suspension that I got. It rides great. So yeah, there's that. So at the end of the day, got a pretty awesome setup for a great price from Detroit Speed. It's meeting all the needs that we want. It does require some fabrication. We are going to be putting the mini tubs, and you may be asking why. Well, we have 650 horsepower LS7. I don't think the factory size wheels, even in a cruiser, are going to suffice for that. So we want to be able to put at least a 305 in the rear, maybe a 295. I don't know. We'll see what we can fit and what tire size or wheel size we actually go with. It looks like we're going to go with a 17 to 18 inch wheel. So we'll stuff it in there, get a good stance, get a good fat tire on the back, and make it look really good, and be able to put down, hopefully, the power that this NA motor is going to be outputting. So all being stated, super excited to be working with Detroit Speed, super excited to record the next couple of videos showing how to install this setup. The front end is super easy to install. It's just super straightforward. The rear end's going to take a little bit more work, and it's going to probably be a couple part series in doing it, but I'm super excited to do it, release those videos, and show you how. So if this is something you're interested, because it's not just something that is only tied to a Camaro. There's a ton of old builds out there that need to go down this path, or maybe you want to go down this path, and Detroit Speed does make setups for you for those cars, for those trucks, etc. So hopefully you guys find this upcoming content useful, interesting, and subscribe and follow along during the journey. So huge shout out to Detroit Speed for getting me a good deal. I am working with them. I reached out to them and offered to be able to basically shoot a video series for them in return for a slight discount on products. They agreed with me. They brought me into the Detroit Speed family, and here we are. We got parts and pieces, so super excited for it. But if you guys have questions, comments, concerns, post them down below. As always, I appreciate you guys checking out the content, but hit that subscribe button for more on the 71 and everything else. But until next time, hope to see you guys on the road.